Hi, everyone. Welcome to our Zoom about learning to be a charity collector. We want to thank all of you for joining us, and you could learn about how to raise funds and awareness. And I will go on to the next page. Okay.
So Dara and I, for the last 5 years, have raised over $110,000 from taking pre-orders of the annual National Mahjong League card. We don't know how much we're going to raise for last year, but it's about 50,000 plus. So we're very excited. Tonight, we're going to share tips on how to get started and for other people to become a charity collector. A lot of people have always asked us, how can I do it for my charity? How do you guys do it? So here we are tonight. We're going to share our knowledge.
So just so you have a heads up of what we're going to cover, first, we're going to define what a charity collector is. You might hear the term collector, and in the Mahjong world, a lot of people think of collecting sets. So sometimes that term is a little confusing. We're going to go over a review of a timeline. So you have goals to meet each month. And then we're going to discuss key aspects of how to prepare your form, what should you include in it, and then just other really important info.
So I get the hard part.
Yeah.
We have loved raising money for the Alzheimer's over the last 5 years by collecting orders for the card. Especially since the National Mahjong League is very generous and they always bump it up. And really the money comes from the money they get from the collections. They also donate in their own way and other, in their own name and stuff. So they've been very generous over the years. Dara and I chose the Alzheimer's Association, The Longest Day, because we feel there's a big connection between playing Mahjong and brain health. It's other games too, bridge, just also the socialization. But Dara and I chose when we started our business to raise money for Alzheimer's Association. And we were also amazed at what Janelle Schatz was doing. She's been a great supporter of ours, and we choose to support her. So for each card, you collect funds for the pre-order. The National Mahjong League donates to your local Alzheimer's Association chapter. So for us, it's South Florida chapter. So you have to know that when you get into it, if you're collecting for Alzheimer's, it'll go to your local chapter. We believe it's a win-win situation because players need to buy the card anyway. So it's an amazing way to raise money for any charity. And it is really incredible how many different charities the National Mahjong League supports. And there's donations that they make that they don't even speak about. But for us, we believe in Alzheimer's.
So pre-orders of the card can be taken by official collectors known as collectors or charity collectors. They take it for the same price that the National Mahjong League charges. So the standard's $14 and the large is $15. And that includes shipping as long as you're in the US and Canada. And we are assuming, as of right now, we haven't heard anything. I mean, it's kind of still early. We haven't heard that there's going to be a bump. So we're assuming it's 14 and 15, but don't prepare your forms yet until you get your package and you know for sure what the card costs. Depending on how long you've been a collector, depends on how much money you get. So the first year you do it by hand and submit it by hand, and you get less for the first year. And then for each year after, you could submit it electronically and your bump goes up. So this year we got $5, past few years, we got $5 per card. So we have raised, as Donna said, 110,000. We also have done auctions, hybrid tournaments, sales of purple dice, and we're going to keep growing this figure based on last year. So I'm going to keep going for this little timeline. So first thing you need to do, if you're collecting for Mahjong for Memories, which is the team that Janelle is really instrumental with, is set up your Mahjong for Memories team. And we're going to go each one of these little pieces of the timeline or a separate slide. So this is just the overview. But the first 2 steps is set up your team, call the league, prepare your form, start sharing your pre-order info. Really important, keep accurate info, keep up with the payments because they start coming in and it starts getting overwhelming. By the end of January, the deadline by the league is February, but give yourself time. By the end of January, you submit 1 check to the league. And then comes April, the fun begins, is you follow up on orders.
So like Dara said, for us, when we're raising money for Alzheimer's, we set up a Modern Mahjong for Memories team. It's part of the Longest Day fundraiser. So if you have any questions, just reach out to your local Alzheimer's Association chapter. The website is there, but it's HTTPS and then Mahjong for Memories, but you can read it there. So in order to be a charity collector, you must be a National Mahjong League member and have a membership number. The minimum amount of cards is 35. So you must submit a pre-order of at least 35 cards to be considered a collector. Next, you should call the National Mahjong League and request information about being a collector for a charity. When you call them, have your address, your contact, your NMJL membership number, and information about the charity you're collecting for, just so you're ready for the call.
Okay, so after the call, the league will send you a welcome packet, and it's really thick packet with a empty PDF to fill out, empty form to fill out. It's going to include instructions, and it's going to include a blank order form that basically you're tallying how many standard cards and how many large cards you're ordering. And the National Mahjong League now associates your membership number is now tied to the charity you told them you're going to collect for. Then, so that's going to be, let's say, this October. So
Wait, let
let's
me just interrupt. So it has to be an individual with a membership number. So for
Yeah, you
example, it can't be Modern Mahjong. It
Yeah.
has to be an individual. It can't be your sisterhood at the temple. It has to be a person.
you have to have a person.
Yeah.
So when they send you your annual packet, it's going to include the information. You're going to see the check for the donation written directly to that charity. So we get a check written to Alzheimer's Association. You're going to see that check the next time you get a packet. So you start your collections in October, September, October. You get your check the next time you get a packet, and that's when you get next year's information. And you need to forward that check to the charity.
So the pre-order is the pre-order form is easy. I mean, I've done it for 5 years. You just fill in, and as Dara said, you put in
Oh, sorry, Donna. For this slide, I meant the pre-order form that they're making, that the one that they're preparing, like the one that we would post on Mahjong Community.
Oh. So when you are telling people you're going to start taking pre-orders to raise money for X charity, we suggest making the form, the pre-order form, very simple and include a lot of space. People are going to hand write in their name and address. The form should also have the dates you're going to be accepting the orders, and definitely have a firm deadline well in advance of the deadline in January. You have to submit all the orders, because when you get all these order forms, you're going to have to look. Sometimes you can't read the handwriting. Sometimes the email address is not filled in all the way. So you're going to have to make a lot of calls to people and say, ooh, can you tell me your email address? So you need to you can't wait till the National Mahjong League deadline. You've got to have your deadline in advance and review all the orders. Make sure there's enough space so you can put in their name, their email address, physical address, phone number, and the quantity of cards they want. One standard, one large. Just make sure you have enough space for them to handwrite it in. Tell them on the form, when and how they'll get their card, that they will get their cards directly from the National Mahjong League. And you have to tell them that, and you have to tell them the timeframes, because the beginning of January, why didn't I get my card? Well, okay, that's not how it works. It's the end of March, beginning of April. And you could just spell it out, and you'd say, as you see on the form, we told you, you won't get your, because some people will start ordering in October and they've been waiting for months. Where's my card? Where's my card? Nope, they don't. The National Mahjong League doesn't mail cards out till the end of March. So you put in on your form how they're paying, whether it's check or cash, and just put it in the form and explain it to them also. Individuals that order from you will be a member, have a National Mahjong League member number, and they will get the annual bulletin by ordering through you. So if one person orders 20 cards for all their friends and we don't have their address, their phone, those 20 people are not going to get the bulletin. So if you want the bulletin, you have to give your name, address, and all this kind of stuff. So pre-orders can be taken for US and Canada addresses, and there's no charge for shipping to the US or Canada. So included in the $15 price is the shipping charge.
And on social media, there were some rumors that we addressed, and there's no issue with them stopping shipping to Canada. They are still shipping to Canada. That was a rumor that was shut down. So,
And maybe just tell people as they're filling out the form, just fill it out as neatly as possible.
yeah.
Have their phone number in case you need to call them and make sure.
Yeah. So after you have your pre-order, and usually like the form, like I'll put a pretty picture, like the card alternates red and blue. I'll put a picture of the color that it's going to be for next year. So this year is red, so next year will be blue. Once you have that, then spread the word. Print it out, send it by email to family and friends, share it printed where possible. If you have emails and text to send it to people, then what's really important is to set up an organized method to keep track. So Excel works great, name, address, quantity, small, quantity, large. And then what we think works, and we hope that this is coming across as this is a wonderful thing to do. This Zoom was to tell you how to do it and warn you of the pitfalls so you could troubleshoot and don't get into them. Not at all are we being negative. We just want to let you know what areas we had issues with. So one thing that was really helpful is to let people know you got their order. And we follow up every single order with a confirmation email. We told them, hello, Donna, for Donna Kassman, we have 2 standard, 2 large. It will be going to your address in Florida. And then if for some reason she ordered 3 and 1, she could write me back and say, no, Dara and Donna, I ordered 3 small, 1 large. And we could fix it. We could check with her order form and make sure it's correct before we submit it. Because once you submit those orders, that's what the league has.
Shirley wants to pop in about Canada.
Okay.
So Shirley, you can unmute yourself. Let's see.
I don't want to stop my share because I'm afraid that I'll lose where I am.
No, I'm letting. Oh, there she is.
Here I am. I'm unmuted. Problem with Canada last year arose because the shipper, rather than sending the cards with almost no value on them, on any orders over about 12 cards where people did it for other people, 20 of us got stuck paying Canadian tax and money to the post office for collecting that Canadian tax. So that became a real issue. And David Unger was very generous, and he made up the difference in the money. And so I was able to send everybody back who had given, who had to pay this tax. So this year, his suggestion was, and I'm going to confirm this with him. So if you're in Canada, you've got to think about this. I'm going to confirm with David that I'm going to have to send all the orders individually and not have any orders over about 9 or 10.
Well, this year that happened in the US too. Any orders that were larger than a certain size, not with taxes, but if you ordered 1, 2, or even up to 4, you got it right away. And normally it's the other way around. Normally, if you order 6 or above, it's like tracking, and I would get a notice in my email. It was anybody who ordered like over 6, the post office weighed them incorrectly. Like they did have enough money on them, but they just got delayed. So once they sorted it out, then they went, like they kind of like circled around, and then they went and got delivered.
So Barbara has a good question. Is the cost still US dollars for Canadian orders?
I convert everything from Canadian dollar. I convert when I take my orders. I tell everybody up front what it's going to cost in Canadian, approximately. It's usually I go a little bit over so that I don't have to cover the shortfall, because I'm ordering 1,500 cards in all, and that's if you lose out by a bunch, and it means I'm putting out a lot of money. But they pay me in Canadian dollars. Some pay me in US, but most are in Canadian, and they all do it electronically, and they send it to me, and then I have to pay then I send it off to the league.
Yeah, so Barbara, it really all depends on which
yeah.
Canadian collector you're sending it to.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of Canadians have US banks, so when they would send us a check, it would be on a US bank in US dollars, no problem.
Yeah, exactly. But I get them to Some of them do it directly from US banks and some of it do in Canadian dollars. And so I've got about 4 different scenarios that I offer. But
That's
anyway, the Canadian dollar, the Canadian government collecting the money last year was a real problem. And so I
Wow.
think we found our way around it. It's just more
Good.
work for me, but it doesn't matter.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
So just so you are very clear with people, because, you know, human nature, I just think there's such interesting things, just not collecting data. We're not doing anything with it, but just collecting the orders. I find it so interesting how many people would tell us, oh, it shipped the first week of April. Well, April 3rd, I'm going back home. So, you know, we couldn't tell them where exactly it's going to be April 1st through April 4th, you know, it's that week that it comes out. So tell people that ship it to the address that they will be at in the beginning of April, because a lot of people have, you know, 2 addresses or more or whatever. And some people send one to each just to make sure they get it and have the excitement of the new, you know, Mahjong players get to have an extra new year. We get to have an extra month that we're excited for. So.
And that's a big issue for us in Florida. People have second homes. And as Dara said, you got to know where they're going to be when the cards start getting mailed.
Mhm.
So, so when you start taking pre-orders all the way through the end of January, as Dara said, you got to keep accurate, detailed records of all your orders. We are all computerized. We took orders online, so we are set up to do it. But Excel spreadsheets, some people have big notebooks with all the order forms in it, all the handwritten order form stuff, whatever works for you, but you have to have detailed records.
Donna, let me just interrupt. If anybody just joined this, whatever you missed, we're going to share the replay on YouTube. So don't worry if you missed the beginning. So, okay.
So this line is for me there. If accepting personal checks, keep up with the deposits. So what we're saying is don't wait a month or two. For many reasons, the bank will not be happy if you walk in with 100 checks, like I used to do.
Donna bought many Starbucks for our bank tellers.
I used to bring Starbucks to them because I'd walk in with the checks, but it was like 100, 200 a day at that point. So, but, and the customers behind you are not going to be very happy either. So keep up. The other reason is if some of the personal checks will bounce, some there's fraud in someone's account and they close it, not intentionally trying to defraud you, but you know, it happens. So you need enough time to say to the person, "Ooh, your check didn't clear. You know, can you send me another check or whatever?" Dara and I took online payments because we have a business. But that's a whole other thing. I don't know if you guys are going to get into that, but make sure to match the names and addresses of the orders. Venmo is easy to reply to a payment and ask for information. So Venmo, you can put messages and notes in your Venmo if you want. Zelle is different. Zelle, the money goes right into your bank account with no memo, no information. And if they don't
even
give you,
reply,
yeah, you can't reply. There's no way to message them. So I don't know if we're going to get into this now, but the big thing is if someone is sending you money personally by Venmo or Zelle, you really have to keep track of your records for your income taxes because it looks like income to you personally. So, I mean, we've had that with our business. You really have to show this amount of money came in and it went right to the National Mahjong League. It's not taxable income to you.
but check with your accountant, but that's what,
Yeah.
So before the deadline, you know, if your Excel spreadsheet is name, you know, first name, last name, email, small card, large card, address, you know, however you need it. And basically you want to kind of mimic the way that the Mahjong League sends you how they need it. You're going to want to tally how many large and small cards and make sure that, you know, 14 times 100 small cards and 15 times 100 large, that those numbers count up to the money you collected. Just make sure that tallies. You are then responsible for writing one check to the league. So basically the league is exceptionally generous and gives so much money to charities, and we're volunteering for them and kind of helping them submit these orders. We're entering, you know, we're doing data processing for them. So we're also taking on the risk of, like Donna said, if a check bounces. These are few and far between. I mean, with 11,000 card orders, I think we had 4 bounce checks or whatever, but you know, it happens. Most of the time you call the person or you email them and they're sorry about it. They explain what happened and they send you a new one right away. You're going to mail your check along with the order form that you filled out well in advance of the deadline. Because if they don't receive your check and your order form, all that work, they won't process late pre-orders. You know, their deadline is firm. So I think their deadline's usually like February 4th, 6th, whatever. We usually end it like January. And it's amazing because we would get mail January 28th that was postmarked like November 5th. So we would feel terrible. And then some of them we even got in like March, and we would call people right away and say, hey, hurry up and order a card because we didn't get your order form until just now. So
I mean, I don't know if it's gonna come up if you're able to take orders by credit card like we did because we have a business. But one of the issues that came up is if people did not get their card on April 1st or March 31st, they would call their credit card company and reverse the charge, and it's called a chargeback. That became a huge issue for us. And you can explain to your blue in the face, like the cards are being mailed out. It's not our, our
yeah,
fault.
so we do not recommend credit cards.
So we do not, because we lost the money, the $14 or $15 plus $15.95 as a chargeback fee from the bank. So that's an issue because people are anxious to get their cards and they're angry and they just call their credit card and say, I never got what I ordered and what I paid for.
So the end of March, the beginning of April, you're going to start getting, even before that, January, like Donna said, you're going to get, calls, where's my card? You're going to get emails, texts, calls. The more accurate your records are, that, somebody calls, hi, this is Dara Collins. I didn't get my card. I search Collins. I find it. Okay, yes, I have your order. And it is going to be sent out the end of March. Once the cards are mailed, then like I laugh, like you decide your level of customer service. Are you going to be really helpful and proactive and you're going to take their name down and you're going to get back to them? Or are you going to give them the phone number of the Mahjong League? Whatever you decide, whatever works for your group, great. We would field calls and messages and emails daily. We would keep a note or an email. And then first thing in the morning, 9 a.m., we would call the league and have a list. Hey, this person's name, this person's Mahjong number, they didn't get their card. The first week the cards goes out, the league is not going to care why you call. They're not going to answer any questions about where the cards are because they need you to give it time, and you need to give it time. Once it's enough time, and usually what happens, and there's rumors all around of how the cards are done, and Donna and I crack up because people say, well, the league should mail California on Monday and Arizona on Tuesday and New York and Florida. No, they mail them all out one day, and the closer you live to New York and the more people order for your zip code, like the bigger a chunk of you're going to get it sooner. So all the little people, states and cities around New York are going to get it much faster. Go ahead, Molly.
So yeah, Molly. Yeah. So can we have them sent to us bulk and people pick it up from us? Yes. I mean, you weren't maybe on the earlier call. The issue with that is if you, Molly, order 50 cards, you will get the annual bulletin. You're a member of the Mahjong League. If you don't give the other 49 people's addresses, emails, they will not get an annual bulletin. But it's up to you. Some people
if they don't care about that, if they're not,
yeah.
A lot of people do that. A lot of people, we know somebody in California, she orders only large. She doesn't deal with small. And she just puts a note, leave $15 in my mailbox and take as many cards as you want for the $15. And she just does it on the honor system and just orders in bulk.
And a lot of people will order 50, 100 cards because they're teaching and they like to have them. So,
yeah.
But yeah, people get
So the first week the card comes out, they're not going to say anything other than, it was sent or yeah. So if you wait and everybody else around you gets an order, and there's certain terms that I just think it's so funny that like they use. And the first time I heard it, I was like, all right, I mean, I know what dupe means, but so they dupe an order, they duplicate an order. So if Molly ordered her card and she didn't get it, and it's already, a week into April and everybody else in her neighborhood did, if she calls the league, gives them her name and her number and her address, they'll confirm that the cards went out. And then they look to see if it was mailed back, if it was bounced. And for some reason, a lot of cards with the right name and address, the right everything, zip code, everything just get sent back. And I guess it's just, there's a lot of issues with post office. So they will make sure everything's okay and they will send it back. 90% of the time, if somebody went to a different house and is not at the same address, it's iffy whether they'll help you with that. So you can call and ask, but I'm not sure what the answer will be. Remember to bring your patients when you call. I can only imagine how stressed they must be. They are answering. I mean, we always hear different numbers, and there's just been such an explosion of Mahjong players all across the country. Years ago, somebody threw out the number 400,000, then 500,000. I mean, I can't imagine it's under 600,000 players, but that's my guess. Not even players, but cards. So bring your patients. The earlier you call in the morning, the more chance you'll get in. And if it does go to voicemail, don't bother leaving one. They don't have voicemail. So just call back.
They don't have email. So
And they used to, during COVID, they gave out an email address. They do not monitor anymore. So there's a customer service email. So they're trying to help hundreds of thousands of players that all want their card just like we do.
So like we talked about before, it's up to you how you want to accept payment. If you accept personal checks, just make sure they clear in time before you put in your order. Enough time so you can call someone and say, someone we had to say, "Ooh, there was fraud on my account and I closed it, but I didn't even think that I had written that check to you." So you can accept check, you can accept cash, Venmo, Zelle, and credit card is a whole other issue. If you do accept credit cards, you have to charge a little more because there is a credit card processing fee. So depending on the number of years you've been collecting, you must submit one check to the National Mahjong League or one credit card payment. We've always written a check. So in January, you write one check for total orders. If you take personal checks, they must be paid because you're going to submit one check to the National Mahjong League. So individual orders, the checks have to be payable to you. And then you tally the orders and you submit them to the National League with your order form and one check. So
the most common thing we got is people thinking we're the league and sending it to the National Mahjong League.
Yeah, we would get checks written to National Mahjong League, Modern Mahjong for League, there's all different ways. So again, you have to make sure that the payee is correct. Make sure they sign their checks, which was, I'd get to the bank with 100 checks. It's like, oh, this one didn't sign it. I'm like, shoot, So, it takes patience and time. So yeah, like we talked about before, you're accepting cash, income from people, Venmo, Zelle, PayPal, whatever it is. You have to talk to your accountant. But again, that's where the records come in. I collected orders of $500 and then $500 went to the National Mahjong League. You just have to show it very clear. So it's not income to you, but we just say, talk to your accountant and do your own homework and look into these issues. One of the issues that we came up with, it's one of the reasons why we're doing this. We had such a high volume of checks that for over 200 deposits a month, we were charged a fee per check. So Dara and I are out a lot of money this year because we have a small business, checking account. We never thought about that. It was never an issue. So you just have to make sure how many checks you're depositing per month and make sure you're not charged by the bank for that. So if you're only taking 35 checks, minimum, then you should be fine. But when you get into the larger quantities, these are just issues you have to think about.
So this we can go over quickly because we really already touched on it, but common errors to look out for when people submit their order form to you is somebody else say, I want 4 large and 2 small, and they pay you for 2 small. They don't tally correctly. They didn't give you their email or their phone number or their address. You don't need an email, but each player on the league's website, like once you're doing this next year, they're tied to an email and a name and an address. So it's kind of important to get as much as you can. Handwriting, and I am guilty of this, and this made me realize when I fill out forms to try to not write like a doctor that I've never been. I mean, my handwriting's atrocious. People would write so small that this year, instead of putting I think we used to have 6 blocks for people to fill out names. I think we did 4 this time just to make it much bigger so people could write neater. If you're tech savvy, Google Forms works great if you know how to do that. So then that way typing, is much neater. And then you just have an Excel spreadsheet or Google Sheet doc that you could download. So if you're savvy that way, that's great. And also the errors for payment, like we said, they could have calculated it wrong. They might not have filled out the check or it's wrong. they might have left it. I mean, we got tons of blank checks, tons of not signed checks, but this is over 5 years.
Mhm.
Often if you just email and talk nicely to them, they're thrilled that you call them and they'll send you a new check right away.
But also what I want to say is you can't do this alone. Dara and I, check each other. We sit and she reads and I check and vice versa. We got so big this year that we had Dara's sister help us. You need help. You definitely cannot, depending on how many orders you have, but you need to
I mean,
double
it
check.
starts slow. I mean,
Yeah.
sorry to interrupt. The first year we didn't even think we'd get 35 and we got over 700. So you don't realize how it just kind of, somebody hears you're doing it. And like Donna said, the reason we're doing this is a lot of people started asking us, wow, we love how much donations you're getting. I would love to do this for my Alzheimer's. So our money stayed with the Southeast Florida chapter. If you do it locally, you get to choose that your chapter gets the funds. So that's why it's just a great win for everybody. You got to buy the card anyway. So,
So the cards are mailed to each individual name and address that you submit. So you can't check whether someone's form, their right address, the right zip code. You have to work off what they have. We were lucky enough because we have a business. Sometimes our credit cards say that's not a real address or something, but you just tell people, be very careful filling out the form because that's where your card is going. So as we said, some collectors don't list individuals' names and addresses when they receive large orders, and that's fine. The order can go to you and you could say, pick it up for me, or I'll see you at the next tournament or the next event and you'll get your check. I mean, we're going to be doing that this year, Dara. We're going to be ordering a whole bunch of cards. And we usually do that anyway. We always try to see, we get large orders to my house, your house, see how how fast we can get them. So all cards in this order would be sent to the player that submitted it. So that's what we said before. If Molly, orders 50 cards for her friends, the other people will not be National Mahjong League members. They don't have a National Mahjong League number and they won't get the annual bulletin. So as we said, if you're going to order for other people, just make sure you get their name, address for each and every single order.
and some people might not care about getting the bulletin. I mean,
Right.
if Molly gets it and she shares it with people and, that's fine. The only thing you need a membership number for really is if you want to be a collector. I mean, you don't need the number or actually, yeah.
Well, it used to be for the online game.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say that.
I know. No, in the old days they had an online game. So yeah.
Yeah. So
May I say something?
Yes,
course.
Shirley.
Surely. This year I've had a good number of people who thought that by ordering from Amazon or some other organization that they were getting authentic cards. I think that when people put out their blurb to whoever, that they should remind them that the cards that they might want to get from Amazon don't do anybody any good because they're not real cards. Sometimes they're totally wrong, and that nobody gets a charitable receipt for doing that.
Well, I'll
when
tell
you
you
see
what the problem is. I mean, Dara and I are both attorneys. We've spoken to the league about this. They have hired attorneys to go after these fraudulent listings on Amazon. But the
Yep.
problem is when you do a Google search or Safari and say 2024 National Mahjong League card, Amazon is so huge that they pop up first. And people are just going to order it. We do posts all the time, but not everyone is on Facebook or Instagram. So that's actually a good idea to tell people, also.
you're an official collector for the league, that the official card. And the problem is some people that are new, one, like Donna said in the beginning, don't realize that the cards come out in April, but don't realize that they're $15. So they see 4 for 15 and they're like, oh, that's a steal, which it's fraud. So, but yes, thank you.
Okay.
Wait, hold on. I think I went backwards.
I already did that.
Okay. So thank you so much for being here and showing your interest. If you've already started collecting or if this is going to be your first year, we are really proud of being charity collectors and raising over 110,000 plus the 50 or so that we're going to get. Other things that we do are we have an upcoming, and I'm going to show you some of our events coming up, but we also sell our purple Mahjong Dice. We donate $1. We do tournaments and we do events and we donate proceeds for that.
So yeah, like we always, when we're telling people to buy the card from us or other people, we're like, it's a win-win. You need the card anyway, and people love that $5 of their 14 or 15 goes to, for, in our case, Alzheimer's Association. We said this before, we're going to say it again. You receive the check from the National Mahjong League for the donation, and it's written to your charity. So it's not going to come until October. So your collections end, you submit the orders the end of January. You're not going to get the check until October. So we're waiting for our check this year in another 2 months. But you are responsible for getting that check to the charity. The league is very generous. As we said, there's so many different charities. It's in the bulletin every year, the charities that they support. They also they donate a lot of money that no one even knows about. They don't really advertise it. But, if you have any other questions, we're here. Call us, email us at modernmahjong@gmail.com, or you can contact the National Mahjong League directly. As Dara has said before, it's best to call them first thing in the morning. If you wait till the middle of the day or the end of the day, you're probably not going to get them. So
if you are here, that means you either play Mahjong or you want to play or you want to collect. We have a lot of requests to go back to something we started during the pandemic. During the pandemic, Donna's and our business was only since April of 2019. And in March, we're like, well, that was a fun run. So it was either stop what we're doing or kind of pivot. And we realized that people really wanted to connect. So we started doing kind of full circle Zooms, which what we're doing now. Our first Zoom, we had 24 people, and we thought that was so cool. Most recently, our card review, I think we had 2,500 people. So in 5 years, it's been an amazing run. So the other thing we did to connect people was we let them play online and submit their scores to us and kind of do a virtual tournament. And then that grew to, well, now we're playing in person, but we still love that. So can we do it in person? So now we call it a hybrid tournament, and it's $36 for 6 rounds, 4 games around. If you have your group of 4 or multiples of 4, you guys can all register individually and just tell us who you're playing with. If you're an individual, we find the hardest thing is to pair individuals because of different time zones. So we just ask you to send us an email, and then we'll see if we could pair you up and then tell you to register. So this is just a great way to raise funds for Alzheimer's. And then this is on our Facebook group. If you're not part of our Facebook group, it's Mahjong Community. These are just upcoming events we have. If you look down on October 24th and 25th, those are 2 fundraisers for Alzheimer's. And then we also have an event November 6th that's going to be a fundraiser. So these are our meet, eat, play, repeat. If anybody knows anybody in South Florida or in Orlando, if you want to share this with them, we appreciate it. We had people come to our last one that heard about it from a friend. They hadn't even seen it, but a friend out of state emailed them. So, and Donna, I'll kick it back to you.
yeah, no, we were contacted by this clothing boutique, Monkeys, in Fort Lauderdale, and asked us to do 2 nights. So on Thursday, October 24th, we're going to teach Mahjong, which is very exciting. And on Friday night, we're going to have social games and snacks and shopping and social games. So that's also going to, a portion of the proceeds is going to go to Alzheimer's Association.
So thank you so much for joining us. And I'm going to stop sharing. So if anybody wants to.
You can unmute yourselves if anyone has anything, but, oh, Carrie's here. Carrie works at the Alzheimer's Association. So if there's any questions, that's great. And the only thing
Well,
go ahead.
It's Janelle, and I just want to say thank you to you all. Everything that you have done is so amazing. And just coming up with this idea in the first place of being a collector and raising money, and the fact that it blossomed doesn't surprise me, because everything that you two do is top notch. And I can't thank you enough. And I love the fact that you want to spread the word and the knowledge that you've accumulated to others. And I think that this will grow around the country because of what you're doing. So just thank you so much.
Are we going to see you in Dallas? Are you going to Dallas?
I am. I'm going to Dallas. Yay.
It's our first time going to a Mahjong Fever tournament in Dallas in October, so we're very excited.
Oh, well, yeah, the weather ought to be better. My first thought was it's going to be hot, but it'll be better in October.
Molly,
Mhm.
are you going? I think I saw you raise. Oh, no. So, yeah.
Yeah,
So
we're not
Janelle,
done. We're not done taking pre-orders. We're not done. We just want to spread it around because it gets to be
Yeah.
overwhelming. It's a little much for two of us plus Dara's sister and her mother.
I mean, as,
So,
as
yeah.
I was sitting, like some days I would be sitting there looking and I'm like, if I mess this up, like 11,000 people's orders are going to be messed up. Like I was like, this is just, or not 11,000 people's, but 11,000 cards. So it was
Yeah.
just like, you know what, I think we need to scale back a little bit. And like you said, spread the wealth. But since
Yeah.
you're sending out accolades, Janelle, for those of you who don't know, we're virtually introducing, she is an inspiration of just rallying the troops of Mahjong for Memories, and just is unbelievable the support that she gets for. So if and I mean, if you want to put your email address in the chat, or if you want people to reach out to you if they have questions, or they can reach out to the Alzheimer's Association, but the chat does not get shared on YouTube, so that's why I didn't say to say it. The chat is just for this little group.
Right.
But yeah, so and then since we're sharing accolades, Barbara, if you'd wave. Barbara is our moderator, and my husband was cracking up. He goes, wait a second, you and Donna gave up control of your Facebook group to someone.
Yeah.
So she has been helping us so much because
Yep. Barbara is she helps us with our Mahjong community group because we're
Yeah.
over 42,000 people or something. So
yeah, we were at
she-
lunch with a friend when we hit 300 people, and we thought that was so cool, and that was not that long ago. So to go to 40,000 or 40 whatever thousand is just amazing. And we kick out, like, not
Yeah.
that we're 40,000 real people, but we constantly go through, and Barbara sees it, kicking out people that are fake and just try to, mine data from people, whatever, because we don't want that. We want active discussions and rules and strategies and
Mhm.
that kind of stuff, and fundraising.
Well, thank you, Barbara, who's volunteering her time. Yeah. Yeah.
So it was great spending this evening with you all. So if
Mhm.
anybody has questions, our email's modernmahjong@gmail.com, or you could ask it on Facebook. And
Janelle put up her Gmail address
Okay.
there. And then Molly said she's going to Palm Beach. So you're going to,
oh, you lucked out. Did you see they
That's-
opened it to 300 people?
I
It
mean,
is going to be huge.
we've been telling Mahjong Fever, Jen and Barbara Bear, for years to come to South Florida. They were very concerned about people in South Florida play with futures and 14 tiles. And so now they're coming and they
Oh, you could tell the other thing too. They were concerned that people in Florida might be mean.
Yeah, well, we're not mean. So we're
No.
excited they're coming to Palm Beach and we'll definitely be there.
Yeah.
This is
And
the
then
one.
actually, since it sold out that quickly, they already announced a second, and then I think they're putting a third one up. So there's going to be 3 in Palm Beach right away. So that's great. And did you have a comment, Carrie?
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you to the three of you. I think, well, I started with the association back in 2019 and was Mahjong for Memories even, maybe you had just started.
No, yeah.
No. And this year, you guys are so close to $200,000 rallying all the Mahjong players across the country and through the sale of the cards. And it's just the growth this year was huge. And I'm sure Janelle can speak more to that, but I'm just so impressed, so grateful. Wish my person was on this call, but I'll send the recording to her so we can work on collecting cards up here in Washington, DC. But just wanted to say thank you guys. Okay, Molly, let's connect.
We have a
Oh,
connection.
Molly?
Yeah.
Okay,
So I
Molly's
just,
unmuted. There's Molly.
hi.
Yeah, I'll get your email. I'm in DC.
That's where I'm sitting right now too. So
Oh, good.
just thank you guys. You guys have been instrumental in this phenomenal growth. And somebody said the other day, like, oh, we're never going to be able to take on Bridge. And I'm
I
like,
know.
I think you are. Like, you guys are on the
Well,
rise.
So Bridge is top down. They tell
Yeah.
them to collect,
Yeah.
and Alzheimer's is so Mahjong is more of like a groundswell, and I feel like it's tumbling. And one thing that I think is great is when the Mahjong League was formed, and I mean, if you guys need to leave, I get it. But when they were formed, charity and friendship are their principles. Like those are two things that go hand in hand. So the women that formed it years ago, it was kind of like an Amway party or like Tupperware. If you sold a card, 10 cents went to your sisterhood or 10 cents went to your Hadassah. And that is kind of the same thing that they're doing now. I mean, it just kept growing. So, I mean, there's a word bashert in Jewish, in Yiddish, and the fact that you just met Molly here is wonderful that it connected. but the whole way this started is Donna and I were looking at something one day, and we had, I don't even know how we saw Janelle's name or whatever, but we're like, Mahjong and Alzheimer's, it just makes sense. It's just such a great fit. And the fact that we were designing a new pair of dice, and we both, like, it was one of those things where we both said, you know what, for purple dice, we should donate $1. And it was like, okay, like it was like crossed emails. So it's just all of it connected just in such a great way. So little synapses in, you know, the Mahjong world. So.
And the Mahjong world is growing. I mean, younger people, men. So we just hope to keep it going. And as we said, you have to buy a card anyway. So it's, you buy it from a collector and then $5 goes to a charity of your choice. So it's just a win-win. It's great. So.
Definitely, Carrie. No, we'd love to.
Yeah.
We have all different styles. Thank you. So, well, thank you all for joining us. If you have any questions, feel free to follow up. And